and you can use that ball in the next hole when you substitute it out. You don't have to keep it out for the whole entire round. So penalty areas. We'll watch this video here that the USGA did that describes what they are and kind of what can be marked as a penalty area now, because there's more free ability with that too with these new rules.
Red and yellow water hazards, two things that most golfers are pretty familiar with. Now, one of the big changes in 2019 though is the introduction of this concept of penalty areas. The ability for committees to now mark additional areas with red lines. So I think 2019 moving forward, we're actually going to see more red lines on the golf course.
I think that's correct, and we'd be happy to see that. On many golf courses around the world, you'll see areas such as this. Difficult areas to find your golf ball, difficult areas to play from, and by being able to mark them as red hazards, we give the player a relief option outside of it. So just outside the red line, they can then drop under penalty of one stroke within 2 club lengths of that point of entry.
Yeah, I mean, this change is really all about giving some flexibility to the committee when it comes to defining their golf course. But because we are going to see more red lines, there's now the opportunity for players to find their balls in more situations. Similar to this, if my ball is there, I may well want to play it. Yes. Right? Under the current rules, there are a number of things I can't do. I can't ground my club or move loose impediments. All those things come 2019 as part of the rules modernization initiative. Those go away as well. So if a player wants to play their ball, they're now going to have the ability to do some things that today they wouldn't allow for. And again, I think just offering that flexibility to the player, you can play the ball as it lies, you can do all these things, or you can take relief under a penalty of 1 stroke. I think that's all important.
It is important, and a key element, a key theme throughout the modernisation process was trying to speed the game up. And we think that these changes in and around penalty areas will do just that. Make a wonderful game just that little bit quicker, and therefore that little bit better.
So penalty areas. Before water hazards were areas that could hold water, whether it was a lake, which is really obvious, or maybe it's a wooded area that has a stream running through it that's maybe not as obvious, or ditches. It has to be an area, or it's supposed to be an area that could hold water. They've kind of got rid of that, and now committees and golf courses can mark anything they want as penalty areas. So that could be maybe lime trees that maybe chances are if you go in there, you're not going to want to play your ball and you're not going to find it. Let's mark that as a penalty area so you get the relief from where it last crossed. It doesn't necessarily have to hold water. Same thing with high grass. Go ahead, mark areas of high grass as penalty areas for the same reason. You're not going to find your ball if you go in there. You're not going to want to play it if you do find your ball. It'll be a quicker option to get you relief for a penalty of 1 stroke, but it's going to help with pace of play as well. We still have red, we still have yellow penalty areas, and it's just up to the committees how they want to mark their golf courses. You don't have to have any yellow on the course if you want to. Again, red's a little bit more friendlier when we talk about relief options, but you don't have to have any yellow on there if you don't want it, and you can mark more areas of the golf course as red too. And you'll see, well, as they mentioned, there's more things we can do in penalty areas now that we weren't able to do before. So we talked about penalty areas, red, yes, more red. Things you can do from a penalty area now. So they've relaxed the rules here. Go ahead, move loose impediments around your ball. Go ahead, ground your club. Take practice swings from penalty areas. Heck, if your ball's in the water and you want to try to play it, get in there. Take a practice swing, hit the water. No problem, you're not getting penalized for any of that anymore. So they're trying to make it easier for you to fairly hit your ball if you want to without having to be restricted in penalty areas. Now don't get confused, they are called penalty areas, but you're not getting penalized for playing your ball in the penalty area.
Right.
You're only getting the penalty stroke if you take relief from that area.
Right.
So don't think that because it's called a penalty area, you're gonna get a penalty stroke from just hitting it there. You're only getting the penalty if you take relief from those areas. So we'll see them talk about these things you can do from penalty areas now here.
If you find your ball in a penalty area and want to play it from there, the same rules apply as when playing the ball from the fairway or the rough. So before making a stroke, you are allowed to move loose impediments, make practice swings that touch the ground or any water inside the penalty area, and ground your club near your ball.
So similar to your bunkers or anywhere else on the golf course, fairways, rough, if you're going to move loose impediments, be very careful that you don't cause your ball to move, because you will still be penalized 1 stroke for causing your ball to move in those areas. You can move them, but just be very careful if your ball's on it. Sorry, you're just a bad lie. You have to probably stick with it. Otherwise, you're going to get a penalty for causing your ball to move. Now our relief options. We get to what our options are if we end up going into a penalty area. So as I said before, red penalty areas, a little bit friendlier to golfers than yellow. You have more options. Now remember, you can play your ball as it lies anytime. So that is not an option that we're going to talk about, but you don't have to take relief from penalty areas. Go ahead, if you want to play your ball from there, go for it. You don't have to take relief. Your first option for taking relief from penalty areas is stroke and distance. And this is an option to you anytime you want on the golf course. You do not have to be taking relief from anything to play stroke and distance. If you want to take a 1-stroke penalty and go back to where you last played from, for whatever reason, go ahead. Nothing's going to stop you in the rules of golf. You will find nowhere where it says you can't do stroke and distance. Now, stroke and distance is a little bit different than it was before. So stroke and distance before, we go back to where we last played from, we drop the ball on that spot. We have the idea of reference points and relief areas. We always need a reference point, we always need a relief area. So now, that reference point becomes the spot where we last played before. Your relief area becomes one club length left, right, and behind that reference point. And now you get your arc. So you have a bigger area where you can drop the ball now when taking stroke and distance relief. You don't have to try to drop it on the same spot where you last played. And that's an option to you again, red or yellow, or any time you want in the rules of golf. Your second option for both red and yellow penalty areas is the back on line. So for this, similar as before, your ball crosses, you find the point where it last crossed the margin of the penalty area, draw an invisible line with that spot with the flag stick, and go as far back as you want. Now it's recommended, it's not required, that you choose a spot on that line. And then you get your club length left, right, and behind, and that becomes your reference or your relief area. So we'll see this player demonstrate this here.
When taking relief from a penalty area for 1 penalty stroke, one of your relief options in the 2019 rules is going back on the line. Follow these steps. Estimate the point on the edge of the penalty area where your ball last crossed as it went in. Imagine a straight line running from the hole through that estimated point and extending behind the penalty area. Go back as far as you like and identify a spot on that line. Measure or estimate a 1 club length wide relief area on either side of and behind that spot. In the 2019 rules, a club length is always the longest club in your bag except your putter. Then drop a ball in the relief area. Your dropped ball must land in and be played from the relief area.
So we saw there, she crossed over, she took that spot where it last crossed the margin of the penalty area, and if it's marked yellow, it's going to be on the other side is where it last crossed. Maybe it hit a hill and bounced back in. You're still taking that spot, lining it up with the flag stick and going as far back as you want, which is going to be on the other side of the water. Now again, recommended, not required, to pick a spot on that line, and you measure your 1 club length left, right, and behind, and that becomes your relief area. Now what if you don't want to pick a spot? You just want to speed up play, I'm just going to drop right here. You still need a reference point, you still need a relief area. That reference point becomes the spot where the ball first hit the ground that's on the line. So if you're a little bit off left to right, that reference point is on the line, but the distance from where it first hit the ground. Essentially, if you choose not to pick a specific point on the line and you drop a ball, if it rolls forward, you're going to redrop because you haven't defined your relief area. Okay. So I'd recommend that you put tees down the first few times you do this. Draw it out for yourself. Figure out how big your relief area is actually going to be until you start to get the hang of it, and then maybe you don't have to put tees down. Right. But 1 club length from the reference point. It looks confusing because it's 1 club length left and right. Think about it as like a pendulum. So from the reference point, you go back, you can go left, or you can go right. It looks like 2 club lengths across, but it's really 1 club length from that reference point, which happens to be in the middle. So, kind of confusing to grasp, but put tees down when you first do it, draw it out for yourself until you start to get the hang of it. Our last option is for red only, and this is our 2 club length option, our lateral relief option. So 2 club lengths from the spot where the ball last crossed the margin of the penalty area, no closer to the hole. So we'll see that here.
In the 2019 rules, when you take lateral relief from a red penalty area under a 1-stroke penalty, estimate the point on the edge of the penalty area where your ball last crossed as it went in. Starting at that point, measure or estimate your 2 club lengths relief area outside the penalty area that is not nearer the hole. In the 2019 rules, club lengths are the length of the longest club in your bag, except your putter, and then drop a ball in that area. Your drop ball must land in and come to rest in the relief area.
So it's just 2 club lengths from where the spot the ball last crossed the margin of the penalty area, no closer to the hole. And you kind of saw in that example it was more of a pie shape, not a half circle. But it just depends on where your line of play is, so you're not closer to the hole.
Question.
Yes.
When you drop your ball, do you have to be in the relief area or can you be outside?
Great question. So the question is, do you have to be standing in the relief area? You do not. You can stand outside the relief area as long as your ball hits a spot in the relief area. Yep, not a problem. Now, those are all our options there. Stroking distance back on line for red and yellow, and then lateral option for red only. Don't be taking 2 club lengths from a yellow penalty area. An additional option by local rule. So again, local rule, not written into the rules of golf. It has to be put in by the committee or a golf course to be able to use this. But if you have something like this picture here has a creek running down the side of the hole, and they marked it on both sides. An additional option to you, if this is part of the rules that you're playing, is the opposite margin. So let's say, I'm going to come down here because it's easier to explain. The ball here, this player hits it and it crosses over on the far side, so the side with all the trees. If this is not an option to him, this opposite margin, he can take his 2 club lengths. So from where it last crossed on the far side, 2 club lengths. Let's say it's a really bad area over there. He doesn't want to drop it over there. Right. Another option, back on line. So where it last crossed, line it with the flag stick and goes far back. Let's say that's all more trees. Again, not a great option. His only option would be to go back to where he last played from. Looks like the tee in this case. Now, this would be a great example to have this additional option to you. If this happens, and it goes on this far side, and he wants to do opposite margin, he finds the distance he is from the hole, come back to the nice side, the fairway side, find the same distance to the hole, plus 2 club lengths. No closer to the hole, and he gets to drop on the fairway side, let's say the nicer side. So, committees have the discretion to use this option, whether they want to for the whole entire golf course, or maybe it's for 1 hole, maybe it's for 3 specific holes. There's no right or wrong way to use this. So I would have committees keep that in mind. Also, if anyone really is into course marking, another way to eliminate the need for this opposite margin, just mark one side of the penalty area. Mark the fairway side. Because if you go across it, the last spot where you cross it is going to be that fairway side. You don't even have to worry about finding that opposite margin.
Right.
A little fun fact there, if anyone's into course marking.
That makes sense.
Any questions on penalty areas? All right, we got one more section, unplayable ball. So, unplayable ball. You can declare your ball unplayable pretty much anywhere on the golf course. You can general area, bunker, putting green, teeing area, just not a penalty area. Why? Because you already have all those other options to get you out of the penalty area. You're not getting additional options for unplayable ball too. So, if you are in a general area, bunker, tee, or green, and you want to declare your ball unplayable, no problem. This is similar to the flag stick. No one can tell you that your ball is unplayable. If you want to take a penalty stroke and follow one of these options, go for it. No one can tell you, what are you talking about? Your ball's totally playable. You can hit that. If you want to take a penalty and go unplayable, go for it. No one can tell you not to. What are your